So my camshaft slowed the car down 2/10. Let's talk about why that happened and what to do in a situation like that. Stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. All right. So a little background before we get into all the details. So I get an email from an engine builder, hey, we building this engine for so and so, and we want to get a cam from you, and what do we need to do? So we send him the cam recommendation form. They fill it out, send it back in. Um, this is a common problem, so I'll just kind of address it. When you fill out the cam recommendation form, several things. So one, the accuracy of the data you provide directly reflects the accuracy of the valve events of the camshaft I'm going to make. Number two, if you just, again, this is, if you just leave stuff blank, then I have to guess. Or I got to chase you around. Hey, what about this? Or hey, what about this? And most of the time, I can tell people are guessing because they just throw something out there. And that is doing ultimately you and me a disservice. We need accurate information. If you don't have accurate information, we're just guessing. We're just going from precision guessing to just sure enough guessing. And that's just how it is. So having said that, we get the cam card back. I'll put a copy of it up here on the screen. We get the cam card back, and of course, half the information is missing. We don't have flow numbers. We got a cylinder head part number. I assumed, again, this is what happens when we assume. I assumed the cylinder head was brand new, but it wasn't. It was some used junk they got from somebody else. Who knows who been butchering on them or what they done. So used cylinder heads that I thought was new. We don't know what kind of intake we got. We know it's a dart, but that's all we know. We don't know anything else. We got stall speed, flash. I don't know how we determine. This is a new package, right? I found this out later. I thought this thing was already running and they just didn't like the cam because this is what the paperwork says. But so it says the converter flashes at 6,200. Well, I don't know how you know the converter flashes at 6,200 if you ain't never run a motor before. We got no min-max RPM. We got no, what we got current cam specs. And we say, these are the current cam specs, and this is what I don't like about this cam. That's what I was told. So we just, again, because we don't have anything better to do, we go to AFR's website, we pull the flow numbers right from their website, we plug those numbers into our system, and we get some data. So from that, we come up with some valve events. I'll put the cam card here. We come up with some valve events. We give that data to the engine builder. He seems to be in agreement. He wants to know how fast can we get the cam done. We give him the ETA. We take the order. We grind the cam, send it out the door, right? So, I don't know. It had been some amount of time, and I get a phone call from the actual customer, not the engine builder. And he proceeds to tell me how my camshaft has slowed his vehicle down 2/10. And the conversation goes on, and he tells me how big of a drag racing guru he is, and how many races he's won, and how many 3,500 race cars he's got, blah blah blah, for an hour. He tells me how smart he is, and so I said, okay, so the if the cam slowed you down, I said there's some things that we need to do before we can make adjustments to the profile, right? I said, we need to run the lash and, let's do that. He said, oh, I didn't set the lash. I'm like, no, man, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we need to run lash adjustments. We need to loosen up the intake, tighten up the intake, loosen up the exhaust, tighten up the exhaust to figure out where the engine wants to cam. We need to move the intake center line back and forth. Let's figure out what it wants, and then we can grind a better cam for the package. Oh, I ain't got time for all that. And so I'm like, well, how do you expect me to make a better camshaft if you won't help me figure out what your package wants? He's like, well, I don't like these heads. I don't think these heads is no good. I'm gonna put another head on, and you just grind me a cam for that. And I'm like, well, what head you gonna put on? Oh, I got some old darts. I'm like, well, what do they flow? Well, I don't know. You just look up what some dart heads flow, and you grind me a cam for that. I'm like, man, it don't work that way. We can't just pull some numbers out of the air. We're gonna be in the same predicament we in now, right? So he says that it ain't got no bottom end, right? It's just it ain't got no bottom end. And I'm like, well, man, the cam I ground you ain't, but I think, and I'll put the card up here, or put the numbers up here. The supposed, again, this thing ain't never run, right? So, point one, he's blaming the camshaft, but we don't know that this engine has never ran before. So, he has no clue what's wrong. He just assumes it's the camshaft. I mean, I asked him about, send me a picture of a plug. Couldn't do that. I'm like, what's this? What's that? Couldn't answer any of these questions. Couldn't give me any data whatsoever at all. Nothing. But we know my camshaft is the problem, which it could be. The camshaft could 100% be the problem. But without actually testing some things, then we just throw in, I mean, we like the mechanics down at Leroy's garage. I mean, we just throwing parts at it, this is exactly how you don't go fast. Doing this right here is a perfect example of how you spend a bunch of money and don't ever go fast. So the supposed original cam was 268, 278. My cam was 273, 288, I think. 286. I ain't got the card in front of me. I apologize. But that's the numbers will be on the screen. And it was a big rocker. So we put some slightly softer lobes on it because it's got a big rocker. I don't know. I don't remember what the lobe lift was, but I don't think it was nothing crazy. And even the lobe separation was the same from the old cam to the new cam. But it was just more duration. I mean, they're saying this cam didn't have no top end, and that was the issue. And then I give them a bigger cam, and then he's saying that, well, that cam ain't got no bottom end. And I'm like, dude, it ain't but 5 degrees bigger on the intake. I mean, I just don't buy it. So then he tells me that he set the lash cold. I'm like, well, you can't do that. Well, why? I do all mine that way. I said, well, I don't care how you do it. It's wrong. You can't set lash cold. Well, why not? I'm like, God almighty, if you were the guru drag racer of the world, I shouldn't have to explain this stuff to you. You have to set it hot. And then once you set it hot, let it cool off, measure it cold, and record that measurement on the intake and exhaust because they won't be the same. And now you can set them cold at that setting. But you can't just take my cam card that says set the lash at 17 and set it at 17 cold. It don't work that way. And so that's why I was trying to stress we need to run lash, pull it up to 22. I mean, he's saying they ain't got no bottom end. I said, pull the lash up to 22 or 24 and let's see what it does. move the intake center line a couple of degrees forward and backwards and see what it does. But, he didn't have time for all that. So and then here we go. So we told him after some back and forth, and he called again, I just want my money back. And I was like, well, fine. Put it in a box, send it back, and we'll refund you. So I didn't hear another word about this deal. We're just waiting on the cam to come back, and we go issue him a refund and be done with it. Because obviously, sometimes, sometimes everybody's not a customer that you want, right? I mean, if you can't do basic fundamental testing, then that's probably not a customer that you actually want, because they're not going to further your system for you. They're not going to further your business. They're not going to further your knowledge. None of that, right? So sometimes it's just best to part ways and just call it a wash. So I don't know, a week later or something, I get a notification on Facebook that he has tagged me in a post. And I'll put the post up here on the screen. So he tags me. Let me get it pulled up in front of me so I can talk about it intelligently. He tags me in this post, and it says, I have a solid roller camshaft for sale, paid $525 directly from me. He tags me, my name, and it did not work out for my car. Slowed it down 2/10. But it might be perfect for yours. My loss, your gain, blah, 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 blah. I guess I will have to stick with Bullet, Crower, or Comp from now on, exclamation point, exclamation point. And he rattles on about some more nonsense. So, I mean, we'd already told him to send it back and you can get a refund. So I responded to the post, and I'm like, obviously you can't follow simple directions, because if you had, you wouldn't need to make this silly post. I mean, it's just, some people, you can't help some people, right? It's crazy to me. But so then eventually he takes the post down. It's just stupid anyway. And still doesn't ship the cam back. He gives it to another dude that I know and has him haul it up here. And I'm like, man, you're just making it super complicated. Sends a note in the box and wants me to regrind the cam from what I had it at to an even bigger grind. And he's whining about it ain't got no bottom end, but we want to make it even bigger. So, and he'd had it out, and he's already got more cams in it, and he wants me to regrind that one. So that already tells you that they done put some more cams in it, and it's still a turd. So the problem ain't the camshaft. The problem is you can guess what the problem is. So I said all of that to say, whoever your cam guy is, it's irrelevant. They're not going to hit it out of the park every single time. There's going to be bumps in the road. This may be a cam problem, but it probably isn't a cam problem. But even the best efforts sometimes are not going to work out. And if they don't work out, then you need to be able to take the steps to help everybody in the system to find a solution to the problem and move forward. But just saying, well, that ain't going to help is not the answer. That is not the answer. If you ain't never done it, you won't know if it'll help or not. That's just how it works. And if changing the lash won't help, then changing the events won't help either, because that's exactly what lashes do. So if that won't help, then the problem is not your cam. The problem is you or something else in your motor, or transmission, or rear end, or suspension, or whatever anomaly is causing you not to go the speed you think you should go. So just keep that in mind. And I've seen some of the dumbest stuff that has been an issue in the past that you just like you scratch your head. We had a perfect example, and this is just a snippet on the end of this deal. We had a dude, we did a cam and the heads for his Super Hot Rod Street Chevelle. So he puts it all together, and he's like, man, this thing's floating the valves. I'm like, man, ain't no way. I mean, it's got plenty of spring. There ain't no way it's floating the valves. He's like, I can guarantee you. He said, this thing hits $6,000 and it sounds like a Rev limiter. And I'm like, hey, I don't know. So he brings it by. We take it down the road. Sure enough, I mean, it's pulling like a mule. You get her up there to whatever RPM, 6 or 6,200. And I mean, it just goes to break it up. I'm like, man, maybe it's something in the carburetor or something stupid crazy. I don't know. We pulled the valve covers, looked all, everything looked good. You know, I knew the spring pressures because I set them up. I had them recorded. The thing didn't have a 3 hours runtime on it, right? So we go through the carb. I just check the jets and stuff because I've seen like people put really small jets in and they'll get lead up top, break up, stupid junk like that. But all that was happy. You know, we looked at a plug. It was all happy. After, I don't know, an hour back and forth farting around, I'm like, give me a timing light. Let's put a timing light on this thing. So I put a timing light on it and the marks just jumping all over the place. And I'm like, well, dang. So I pulled the cap off and checked, just make sure we didn't have a bunch of gear lash, like the gear was eat up on the distributor or something, and it was good. So I put it all back together and pulled it up there about $4,000. And dude, when I pulled it up there about $4,000, I'll bet you the timing mark was jumping 15 degrees either way. I mean, it was like insane. So this thing had a 7AL on it, and with a, see, it had it was an HEI. I'm pretty sure it was an HEI with a 7AL. So we disconnected the 7AL, put a timing light back on it. Timing marks just dead solid, dead solid. I was like, well, let's take it down the road now. If we take it down the road, problem solved. So he done worked on it for 3 or 4 days, and I done worked on it for a couple of hours, and the 7AL was bad. And whatever was causing it to do all that crap, I have no idea. But since then, I've seen several do the exact same thing. So whatever is going on inside of the 7AL that's doing that, but he was sure that it was floating the valves. And the first time I took it down the road, I'm like, dang, that's exactly what it, I mean, that's exactly what it acted like, but it wasn't. It was an ignition problem. But I'm just saying that, you know, always flying off the handle and pointing fingers is just not the answer most of the time, you know. And anybody that's worth their salt is willing to work through the problem. I mean, I told this guy, I'm like, you know, get me this data, and then I can extrapolate from that which way we need to go, and I'll just grind you another cam, no charge, no problem. And he wasn't willing to help me help him. And if you can't help me help you, then you can't be my customer. And that's just how it is. So the cam come, we wrote him a check, mailed it to him, he cashed it, we done. This cam, it ain't heard, it ain't got, but he said it, I don't remember, 3 or 4 passes on it. I don't know how you determine the camshaft is wrong in 3 or 4 passes on a brand new build. I don't know how that's possible. But the camshaft is going to be for sale. It'll be on the website with all the specs, but it's a standard, and who buys a tall deck block with a standard cam journal? But it's a standard cam journal, 900 base circle. And I'll put all the specs. It'll be on the website. And there's like a yard sale section for used stuff. So it'll be on the website at a discounted price for sure. But like I say, it looks like brand new. I mean, it's all like I say, it's only got 3 passes on it or 4 or whatever it was. So anyway, hopefully that helps you, you know, unpack a problem when there is a problem. Because I promise, if you do enough stuff, there's going to be a problem. This ain't the first time, and it won't be the last time. But again, with real data, we can move through it and fix the problem, move on. So hopefully that helped. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next one.